Amazing. We are live. Perfect. We see, let some people start to roll in. Awesome. I think we're live. Perfect. Well, thanks for everyone for joining today. I'll be your host today. My name is Sarah. I'm on the eDesk team here. And good morning or good afternoon, wherever you're joining us from for our live session today on AI agents and e-commerce support. So we've got Evan and Gareth here who can give a quick intro of themselves, and they'll be talking all things AI agents and e-commerce support.
I guess I'll go first. Hi, I'm Gareth Cummings. I'm the CEO of eDesk. Yeah, very happy to be talking about AI agents and all that goes with that today. So welcome, everybody.
Hey everyone, my name is Evan de Vere and I am the product lead for our AI. So yeah, really excited to chat about it today and AI in general.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, yeah, as the title of the session is AI agents and e-commerce support, what's actually working and what surprised us. I guess let's start there and see, Evan, maybe what you've been seeing from implementing AI agents so far.
Yeah, sure. So I've been working with clients for quite a long time implementing this, and I guess what's working, it won't come as a massive surprise, the working part. What works really well and we've been kind of good at for some time is product specs and pre-sales questions, right? The pre-sales part might come as a little bit of a surprise because people kind of sometimes forget about that element as product questions. But what we're able to do really well is to ingest or find data about products, and that comes with descriptions, but also what they're compatible with. So, you know, if it's an automotive part, what cars does it work with? If it's an electrical good, you know, what is it compatible with? So that type of information, AI is super strong on and can do an excellent job. And when you've got big product catalogs, it can do a better job a lot of the time than we can as humans, because there's so much information there. So I think that's something that we see working really well. And the next step is, I think, more about workflows and processes. So, you know, what we're building and what we have at the moment is the ability to explain your, you know, how you handle certain cases or refunds, or, you know, what your workflows internally are. That's the key next step for AI, and something that we have already shipped a lot of features around and can do well, but there's more to do there. And I think what's a surprise sometimes is, and I think for organizations is, I suppose AI, it's not really a tool that deals in gray areas. So if you want to explain someone your policy, if someone joins your team tomorrow, you need to be able to explain it clearly to them. All the gray areas, so sometimes we do this. If you can codify that, if you can write it down, then fine, AI can understand it. But I think what's surprising a lot of organizations is that their processes maybe aren't as tight as they think they are. And part of the, you know, some of the things that I see and the challenges are, you need to sit down and go through that and decide, okay, if this is something AI is going to take off my plate, I need to be able to explain it in clear language. And I think that's been a little bit of a surprise and a challenge, and an interesting challenge for companies.
I see that quite a lot, Evan, actually, not just with ourselves, actually. I think obviously there's a lot of talk about AI agents and stuff online and different leaders and stuff. I think the thing is, with any AI agent, you still have to put the work in, right? It's not, you can't just, and this is across any vertical, right? Obviously we're talking about support and eDesk and stuff here today, but I think across any vertical, right, you still have to put the work in on an agent, right? You still have to train it, you still have to give instructions. There's a guy who runs SaaStr, Jason Lenkin, I think his name is, and he talks about it quite a lot. He's using a lot of agents in SaaStr to do a lot of conferences, and he's using a lot for sales and for bits and pieces. But he talks about the effort that goes in, right? It's not just a, you know, throw it in and off you go, right? And I think yeah, what you say there, I mean, you've fed that back a little bit. Obviously, you're working very closely with some of our clients, and as you've articulated before, quite often stuff isn't written down, right? It's just, it's like tribal knowledge in the company or whatever, right? But you know, you still have to instruct the agents, you still have to give it that guidance. So you know, that piece. And I think you spoke a little bit about this before in terms of, you know, you need someone in the organization to own that and maybe orchestrate that and you know, work with the agent, right? That's the real thing. And that's and maybe that's not apparent to people when they first maybe go into the AI agent space in any vertical, right? I mean, obviously for us in support, but I think that's across the board, right? There's still work to be done to get it, you know, to be.
I think that's a really good call out. Like, that's something that I see when the most successful adopters that we've had, there is someone whose job it is like one nominated person, and it's usually a senior person who has a lot of that context in their mind, and so part of the job is writing that down and getting it out on a piece of paper basically, and putting it in from there. But yeah, there is that one person who dedicates time each week. It's not a full-time job at the moment, but it's certainly something that at least for, you know, the period of adoption, that you do need to put in that time. And what's really important to kind of weigh up is this compounds over time. So a key challenge in customer support is attrition. People come and people leave. You know, your AI agent, it's just going to get better over time. So if you start today, it's the worst your AI agent is ever going to be. And every time you add to that, give it more information, new policies, and we update on our side with new models, new functionality. You know, this is something that it's imperative to start now. If it's not perfect, it's okay. It will get better, and you can bite off small chunks at a time.
Yeah, I love that phrase. Like, it's the worst it's going to be now, right? In terms of, and yeah, I mean, that's the, I mean, I often kind of speak a little bit about it in terms of, because if you can get there in terms of automating the easy stuff and yeah, but your agents obviously are going to run 24/7 and, you know, are multilingual and, you know, as I say, just keep working at all time, right? So that as you say, that investment you put in, right, it compounds over time and keeps kind of growing, right? And you don't have that challenge that you would have in some support organizations of, you know, people coming and leaving, which is not natural, right? Attrition in any kind of organization, where you have to retrain and reskill and all those types of things, and that obviously all gives kind of operational a load to the business. Whereas your agents, you know, you keep investing in them and they continue to perform at that level or improve. And I think that's the other really interesting thing. Obviously, the pace of change.
Yeah.
Because we obviously integrate with kind of all the big LLM providers out there, be it OpenAI and others. But the pace of change there. So when they update their models, that actually increases the productivity and the ability of the AI agents we've built around that. So that's the other thing as well, as I say, as that improves, and at the rate of improvement, I mean, new models have probably been released every few months, maybe even in shorter than that, right? In terms of the pace of change, and every time they release a new model, obviously that helps us in terms of improving what we're offering. So you have that improvement happening in parallel as well.
Yeah, like our jobs are so different now to what they were like a couple of years ago in terms of how AI has affected it and how that change happens so quickly. And I think that is not going away. Like, so it you know, you got to start. You really have to start. And if you look at, you know, outside of customer support, we saw the first one-person company sold, like, I think it was 2 weeks ago, OpenClaw for $1 billion. OpenAI, one guy, vibe coding. So, like, you know, that's kind of the world we are in now. So, you know, there's no question marks anymore. Is AI the future or anything like that? It's just, you know, today's the day to begin if you haven't already. And yeah, it's not going to be perfect. In terms of like the things to look out for and the surprises, as I said, it's like trying to make that organizational shift so that you're starting to codify your rules internally and making them more black and white. It doesn't mean that, you know, there's not room for nuance. You have kind of two options there. You can either fork in the sense of, have if this then that, and if this then that, and if this then that, so you can go that direction and get into a lot of detail. And then for some things that like you're just like, we're not really ready for AI to take this on. So sometimes when I'm speaking with customers, cancellations is one of those, right? Because cancellations, there's a lot of nuance and times are really tight. And so some customers say, look, I just don't want the AI agent to do that, because we never want to cancel if we can help it. But sometimes we have to. So they're just not ready to really codify that rule, and we move on and we just tell the AI agent, hey, don't deal with that. And I think that information is in people's heads, so it's not like it's creating completely new processes. But I think you've talked about this. We've talked about it together, Gareth, like being data aware. I think that's a really key thing. You need to know your own organization's data, but know the data that, say, for example, you have an eDesk at your fingertips, with it being multi-channel. So if you're going to create a cancellation policy, you need to look at, okay, for this channel, do I know, will the AI have access to the date that this is being shipped? So I can say 2 days before that, you can't cancel anymore. That kind of thing is kind of new for teams. Like everyone's looking that up and making that decision, but to again codify that and tell an AI agent is new, and that's really important.
Yeah, and you mentioned the channels, and we talked a little bit about this, and to kind of come back a little bit to earlier on when you're talking about pre-sales. Like pre-sales is where I see massive benefit. I mean, I've seen it already with our existing customers who've adopted AI agent, because for some of our customers, sometimes I'm surprised even myself in terms of the amount of volume that comes through. So when we say pre-sales, obviously that's questions that people ask before a purchase, right? And for some of our clients, we see up to 40, 50, 60% of actually the queries coming in are pre-sales queries. So that's before transaction. And it's a real untapped area, because I often talk about it, but like you have your website or your marketplace or wherever you sell on, right? And that's open 24/7. So that's your shop. But you may not be staffing your shop 24/7, right? Because you have people working Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. But a lot of pre-sales queries will come in the evening times and at the weekends. Like we're all consumers. We're all at home in the evenings or weekends on our phones, browsing stuff. And that's, you can ask questions around that time. And also we've always been aware of it. I guess for me, I've been surprised by the impact that by plugging in our AI agent, by having that connected to the data, so that be it, product information or product content or product data alongside order information and other rules and context, the ability for us to be able to answer those questions like pretty much immediately, within minutes, or the AI agent answers them within minutes, and they're correct, and they can be they're in the native language of me as a consumer. And then what we're seeing in terms of the conversion impact, because essentially we track them when an order is placed, post a question being answered, and we've seen the kind of before and after effect in terms of customers, in terms of before they implemented the AI agent and pre-sales and afterwards, and it can be pretty exciting actually to see the impact that it can have, and the ability to kind of impact growth and conversion and stuff like that. So that's been really interesting to me, and I know in particular there's certain channels it's been very effective on for us as well, in terms of certain marketplaces and stuff like that. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, so like it's funny because I was smiling there because I think it was probably about 5 years ago, when I was working in a different role at eDesk, I had to research pre-sales and write an article, and so I did a lot of research to find out the stats, and I think it was like the Harvard Business Review it came from in the end. And I think if I remember right, because our old CEO was tough when it came to how good your content was. So I remember rewriting that article a lot of times. And the key stat. Pardon?
Much nicer than me.
Well, the content he just wanted to make sure it was good, right? So not that it was something that he always looked very closely at. So the stat was, if I remember correctly, the likelihood of you converting a pre-sale is 4 times higher if you answer it within the first 5 hours. And so that's what's kind of at stake there. If you move fast, and which you can't do on evenings and weekends, you will get those sales, and if you don't, you're 4 times less likely to. I think in terms of the AI agent and how we operationalize that, we have like a distinct advantage when it comes to Amazon and eBay. When someone, because of our integration, we know exactly what product the person is asking about. So again, if it's compatibility, I question. If you're saying, you know, I drive this car, if I buy this thing, will it actually work with it? We'll be able to answer that immediately in the time it takes for us to just process that ticket and answer it. So we'll know exactly the question. And then, you know, it's more challenging for email and web store. It's not just an eDesk challenge, it's everyone challenge, because if you send me an email and say, you know, does this come in green? I'm like, well, does what come in green? So, you know, it has to be, that one's a little bit more challenging, but we're doing some interesting work on that using some kind of new AI agents, so perplexity search and things like that. And we're working to try crack that one. But yeah, it's a really key area and a really good strength that we're trying to invest in more and more.
Yeah, because the other reality as well, like when you work in customer support, I think, and you know, I've done myself. I think the reality is, you know, a lot of times you're being reactive to the issues that are coming in from real customers, and that can be your priority, which is understandable, right? Because that's, you know, that's where the SLAs and that's where your kind of a lot of the measurement goes. So that's why I often think about the pre-sales and trying to automate some of those things and the routine queries, because I think everyone is kind of asking, well, where does this leave us in terms of the human part, in terms of customer support? But I still see a big role in that, in terms of, because the advantage AI can play is that, as you already kind of touched on, automate the kind of routine queries, look at pre-sales, and obviously that will improve over time. And as you say, we're investing in more workflows and how we can, but there's still a role there in terms of humans, in terms of, as you said already, the orchestration, right? So that's the content and the management of that is still a big piece. But then also, you know, people, consumers, and still want to know that. I think consumers are happy. It's funny. I think it's before. I think we're all the same. If you got to a website and you had to interact with a chatbot or something, you're like, oh, there was this kind of if then else, right? And you're just like, we're trying to get past. Like, it's funny. I was saying the other day, it was kind of like, it's a bit of a weird thing. Like, you think of brands and stuff, you're trying to connect with an audience and connect with people, but then you put this barrier. It's like, well, let's put all these barriers in front of them speaking to our support because we want to deflect, right? That was kind of like, that was the automatic thing, right? But it's kind of counterintuitive if you think about it, right? But I think now with AI, everyone's very used to it. Everyone's using ChatGPT and stuff, so it's a very natural thing to do. But if you want, and I know we've built a product like that, you can still bypass and speak to a human, right? So I think that's still important, and it just allows your support team to be, you know, less in firefighting mode and less just kind of reacting to the day, and they can, you know, triage the issues properly that they should. They can handle VIP customers. They can be identifying root causes of problems, like, you know, that are actually coming in, you know, more value added work, right? In terms of, and kind of bring that back into the business. And that's where I see, so that's where I see the AI agents giving lots of benefit, because it allows them to kind of support team to do more higher value items. And I think that there's real opportunity there in terms of not just for support teams, but for the whole e-commerce business then to benefit from that. That's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Like, there's the things that AI can't do for a while, right? So again, it all relates to data. So the more data you get in one place, the better job AI can do. So, you know, if you're a multi-channel seller, and that's you know, what you get with eDesk, you get all of your connections in eDesk. The challenge for that then is the orchestration, because the more channels you have, the more kind of flows you have to put together and all of that. So there's a big job for people to orchestrate, right? Because the rules aren't made by the AI, they're followed by the AI. So that's a key thing, right? So that human input is always going to be vitally important. You know, maybe there's a day when that changes a bit more, but not for a while, right? So I think that humans setting the rules, and then on the intelligence part, I think one place that we want to go is the AI is raising kind of the issues of where it's not able to reply. So something we have today is called a gap report, and it says, hey, I don't have this information, and if I did, I will be able to answer. I think there's further stages to that to say, well, if you plugged in this data source, I'd be able to do this. And if you were to allow me to do these things under these conditions, so for example, make refunds, there might be a refund threshold, and we'll say you can't refund over $30, but if you raise that by $5, I could answer another 50, 60 tickets. So I think the orchestration part is going to be really big for a long time, and and then in terms of like, there's always going to be situations that require, as you said, Gareth, human intervention or interaction, whether it's the empathy or the phone call or the complicated thing where it's a courier that has lost it and nobody knows where it is and it's gone to the wrong country or whatever, and someone's going to make that call or send that email. There's things like that where the data disconnects and will for a long time, that humans are always going to have to fill in those gaps and do that digging, that when it's multiple systems, it becomes much more difficult, I think.
I think that's interesting though, because like it gives, wouldn't be nice, like at the, I noticed like nobody really kind of has the time to give that level of service at the moment, right? Because they're just dealing with so much stuff, right? Wouldn't it be amazing if you bought some products and it wasn't delivered and you got a call and said, hey, look, sorry that this happened. Like imagine just you as a consumer getting that, you'd be like, wow, you'd be so impressed with that brand or that experience, right? You'd actually tell people like, well, that's top notch, right? And it's like they're the value add little things that you can and kind of customer facing teams can start to focus on, I think, which is interesting. And also just back to your point, it is really interesting, like, because some people might have been aware of Notebook, which was basically a thing which was created where agents were, well, some people got spooked very much, right? Because agents were kind of posting on a Reddit type forum, right? And agents are posting kind of going, well, we've discovered our new language that humans won't understand, and everyone was freaking out, going, oh, like it's intelligence. But all that was really was just because agents at the moment are, I don't know, this is controversial. They're pretty dumb in some ways. They will do what you pointed to do, right? They're not. The intelligence is not here yet. Maybe in the future, but it's not at the moment. They're not autonomous, right? But everyone freaked out. But all that was really just people giving instructions. Agents going, "Hey, I want you to say this, pretend this," and they just go and execute it. So I think that's important for people to understand. So like, obviously in the product we've built guardrails and we've restricted only on the content that you feed it and on the instructions that you feed it. But there is a next level down in that in terms of rules and exactly how you want to respond in certain use cases and certain examples, right? So we have the broader guardrail, so it won't go outside your content, won't go outside of e-commerce, won't do anything outside of your data set. So that's in the product and that's completely safe. But those fine-grained controls, right, in terms of, as you say, rules and around certain use cases and returns and on the level, all that type of stuff is still very instructional, and that's where you need, and that's where you need to put the effort in. And again, that's, as you say, that's where you can tweak and change and see more and more benefit, right, in terms of more coverage by getting into that a little bit.
Yeah, I think just on the subject of humans working with AI, we all do it every day now. We're using ChatGPT as an accompaniment, or Claude, or whatever your one of choice is, to help you structure things, to get a head start on things. One of the things that I do see is like people are so harsh on AI as well. It's really interesting to see, like, in two ways. One is like when a new model comes around, everyone says how great it is, and then all of a sudden a month later it's useless. So that like we've adjusted so quickly to how good it is that our expectations just keep on getting higher and higher with every release. The other one I see is like people, when I do implementations with customers, AI is not perfect. It will make mistakes. It will say things that it shouldn't have. So we have really good guardrails. We have our AI agent is really multiple AI agents underneath, and two of those, their exclusive job is to make sure it doesn't make any mistakes, that it doesn't say things that it shouldn't. But it will phrase things awkwardly. It will occasionally say things wrong, and it's, if you compare the threshold that it's judged on against human support, like there's mistakes being made by human agents every day, as the three of us here make loads of mistakes every day as well. It's just like natural that, you know, you make mistakes when you, particularly when you do high volume things. And I just thought that I think that's something that I'm interested to see how that evolves and changes as AI becomes more and more ingrained in what we're doing. Like, are people going to, you know, are the standards for it going to go higher and higher, or, you know, will it one day, will we give it a break and say, yeah, sometimes it makes mistakes and that's okay too?
Yeah, it's really interesting, actually, isn't it? Yeah, and it is the thing, right? It's like I often kind of comment myself. It's like, I don't know, a year ago you'd be amazed by something, and now like you're like, yeah, that's just you so quickly get used to it. But yeah, that's standard that people expect, and there's still a bit of that, which is understandable. I don't know if fear is the right word, but like there's that, like when they see it going slightly, if the phrasing slightly wrong, or, you know, it's like, oh well, look, that. But as you say, right, like, and this is not just a supporting. Us humans obviously make mistakes all the time, and, you know, so I think it's interesting to see that. I know some of these metrics we're building and to come, but we're starting to see indications around stuff like sentiment and CSAT, actually, that, and that, I think that's important. It's like, I think that for me, at least, in terms of customer support, having worked in the area and stuff, like, quite often, even in an organization, I've had that experience where people can point and kind of go, oh, well, look at this example, right, of a badly handled ticket or whatever. And you're like, yeah, that's one example. But you got to kind of step back and look at the all. And that's why, like, KPIs and stats are so important, because you got to look at those and go, well, no, but like, our CSAT rating is 76%. You know, our first response time is X, right? Because there's so much volume, right, of stuff coming in. You can always find one thing to point at, right? Sometimes people outside of support organizations are great at doing that. They're great at pointing and going, hey, look at that. And you're like, yeah, but like, we handled 1,000 tickets this week, right?
Yes.
Overall, right? So I think that's always been important in my eyes, in terms of management of support generally, to kind of show that level. I think it's the same with AI agents, right? Yes, there will be examples, but it's to look at the overall levels in terms of response time, CSAT, you know, the productivity, because that,
and the pre-sales, right?
Yes, and the pre, like, yeah, exactly, right, in terms of the pre-sales, in terms of, look, the revenue that's brought in. I mean, that's, for me, is one of the biggest things in terms of the revenue impact that this can have, right? And in particular, you know, in terms of support and elevating a little bit in terms of an organization and what it can do for you, right? In terms of enabling AI agents on pre-sales and having that ability to, you know, within a week or days, to show that impact. Like, it's pretty quick. Like, if you enable it and get it going right, you'll see the impact pretty quickly in terms of conversion of sales, and that's pretty cool. So yeah, but I think it's just to look at, you know, it's to look at those KPIs and stats overall is important, you know.
Yeah. I think it's one to watch anyway. But I think you're right. You need the data to be able to judge too. So yeah, that's one thing that we're investing in. And is we have some pretty good stats there already, but we want to show more. And it's stats. It's, you know, making it observable, but it's also diagnostics, and that's something that's really exciting that we have coming down the line as well, where, you know, the AI is not only able to tell you what it did, but, you know, what it could do if you unleashed it, let's say, or gave it more information or let it do more things. So there's some exciting stuff on the way as well.
Cool. And then, I mean, obviously we spoke a bit about in terms of how long sometimes it takes, but I mean, there's also, you know, the ability to kind of get up and running fairly quickly, right? In terms of I mean, obviously you have to invest more and more to drive that performance, but like out the kind of gate, there's some easy wins there as well, right?
Yeah, I guess for the way our AI agent works out of the box is it avoids the high risk thing. So, you know, really you could turn it on without really any training, and it's not going to take a big load of support, but it will start, and it can start to learn the gaps and start to raise the issues that it doesn't know about, so that it can then do more, and you can train it, but train it with the click of a button, right? So we have a gap report that tells you where the gaps are, and you can click a button called Learn. If you're an eDesk customer, it's not on everyone's account at the moment, but will be on everyone's within the next 2 weeks. And you click a button, Learn, and it will create an article that it automatically uses. So The cold start is a tough problem, right? You kind of, if you start with no information, but it's you can turn it on and just let it learn. But ideally, as we said as well, you got to invest to get the real benefits over time. But it's you can start today and just turn it on. That will work fine too.
Amazing. Well, that's like tons of great insights for our audience today on, starting their journey of implementing AI agents and their support. So yeah, I heard a lot of great best practices there. And yeah, thanks so much to you guys today for this chat, and to our audience as well for attending. And please feel free to reach out to us at eDesk.com. And yeah, we'd love to hear more from you and maybe have more events like this in the future. If there's any topics you guys would like us to cover, please let us know.
It's great. Thanks everyone for attending. Hope you found it useful.
Cool. Thanks everyone.
Thanks guys.